Sometime later, when the Ammonites made war on Israel, the elders of Gilead went to get Jephthah from the land of Tob. Come, they said, be our commander, so we can fight the Ammonites. Jephthah said to them, didn't you hate me and drive me from my father's house? Why do you come to me now when you're in trouble? So remember, we just read Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty warrior. So they knew that he was someone that they may need in times of certain types of trouble, especially physical trouble. And so he's pointing that out to them, like, well, you knew about me, but you didn't care for me then. Let's continue to read. The elders of Gilead said to him, nevertheless, we are turning to you now. Come with us to fight the Ammonites, and you will be our head over all who live in Gilead. Jephthah answered, suppose you take me back to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gives them to me. Will I really be your head? The elders of Gilead replied, the Lord is our witness. We will certainly do as you say. So Jephthah went to the elders of Gilead, or went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him head and commander over them. And he repeated all his words before the Lord in Mizpah. So even then, he even had doubts and questions. It's a human thing. We do have doubts and questions, especially when someone turns around out of nowhere and says, well, actually, we do need you, or we do need you, or we do need your help. When things come to light of your gifts, of my gifts, of your specialness in my specialness, of your necessity in life and my necessity of life, it changes people. It changes people's thought process and pattern where we don't become insignificant. And so looking at that in life, that can happen in what we believe in minor things. It could be such as something at work and as simple as, well, I don't know how to do this. Can you help me with it? To something major important where tragedy strikes, and the only person that knows how to help, whether it be in language, whether it be in healthcare, whatever you may think of, whatever you can think of, you're the only one with that knowledge, with that ability to help. So things can change, and they can change quickly. They can change over time, and they can also change quickly. It's like the wind, it's like the tides coming in and out. And so let's continue to read. Then Jephthah sent messengers to the Ammonite king with the question, what do you have against us that you have attacked our country? The king of the Ammonites answered Jephthah's messengers, when Israel came up out of Egypt, they took away my land from the Arnon to the Jabbok, all the way to the Jordan. Now give it back peaceably. Jephthah sent back messengers to the Ammonite king, saying, this is what Jephthah says. Israel did not take the land of Moab or the land of the Ammonites. But when they came up out of Egypt, Israel went through the desert to the Red Sea and on the Kadesh. Then Israel sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, give us permission to go through your country. But the king of Edom would not listen. They sent also the king of Moab, and he refused. So Israel stayed at Kadesh. Next, they traveled through the desert, skirted the lands of Edom and Moab, passed along the eastern side of the country of Moab, and camped on the other side of the Arnon. They did not enter the territory of Moab, for the Arnon was its border. So what he's doing is he's replying back things that they repeated and said. And so as we've known since Moses and then through Joshua, how during those times they repeated things. They said them, they repeated them to each other themselves. They may have written it down at some point finally, but they would repeat things to keep track of historic historic records and to his historic things that have happened. And so he's given back to them what truthfully had happened. And he's pointing out where their idea, where their thought process is flawed. And so there's a lot to hear. The Jephthah is making sure that he's putting the Lord first. He gave the speech back to the people, and he repeated all his words before the Lord in Mizpah. So he was making sure he was putting the Lord first, and he was making sure that the people, the Israelites, the groups were going to follow through with what they are requesting, that he would help them out and they would make him the lead. And so just over these things that we just read here, and how he's telling the truth back. So that's something, bringing the past to present. So when an issue arises, it's okay to state how you're feeling. So you're mistaken or taken for granted, and then they realize that your knowledge and your importance. So they come to you. It's okay to state to that situation or your feelings at that time. Well, at first you didn't want me, but now you do. Is this going to truly help, or am I just going to be left by the wayside when we're finished? That you're just coming here to use me. In some instances, that unfortunately does happen. And so, but it's okay to state your feeling, how you felt mistreated, and how you felt that you were treated as insignificant, and now they realize your importance. So there's a lot here to think about that, and how your feelings and your thought processes are important. But it's also good to remember to stay with pointing with the Lord, with giving it to the Lord, those thoughts and those feelings, and what the situation is to the Lord, and making sure that you have peace about whether or not you're going to make a decision to go ahead and help, go ahead and accept the role that's been given to you, or the role that's been asked to you or demanded of you. So with that, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind? How does it make you feel, and what does it make you think?